Hey there, Andrea Moranville here, Sweet Life of a Baker. I am so excited to be sharing with you something I've been making for a really long time, and that is chicken soup. With some simple ingredients, a little bit of time, you have a delicious meal that's loaded with vitamins and nutrients that I know as a mom I want my kids to get. And so if making chicken soup is one of those ways to get them to get their vitamins and veggies and nutrients in, this is something I'm going to keep making for years to come. So growing up, it's no secret, my mother was not a baker, which is pretty ironic given that I am. But one thing that she was really good at, and still is to this day, is making a really good roast. Roast chicken, roast beef, pork roast, pot roast. These are all things that are very reminiscent of my childhood. It was just ingrained in me on how to make them. So as I grew older and I learned how to make things, I started remembering all of those things that you kind of pick up subconsciously as you're younger. And chicken soup was one of those things, or turkey soup, whatever you want to make. It was one of those things that was always on, there was always a pot of soup simmering on the stove. And I remember thinking, wow, that's a lot of work. And yeah, you know what, here's the thing, it is a little bit of work. It's a lot more work than opening a can of soup, right? However, this is the meal that keeps on giving. So how do I go ahead and make my soup? Well, I have for you here, I roasted off a chicken last night. I'm doing it for this video, but this is not uncommon for us. I will make a roast chicken, we'll have it for dinner, and then the leftovers I will seal back up, and then I will do the exact same step and start the soup, only this chicken is not touched. Typically, the chicken breast will be eaten off, the kids will have picked at it, we will have had our roast chicken dinner. I'll save the carcass of the chicken, and then the next day I'll make a soup. This is a full chicken because I made it for this video, which, hey, who cares? I'm making soup. I'll have it for the family for the week. But I just wanted to go ahead and let you know how I prepare this meal. You can get a really good 4 to 5 organic roaster chicken for probably about $10 to $15, 5-6 pounds. So you can either make it all for soup, or you can have a roast chicken dinner and then get 2 meals out of it, or 4 or 6 by making soup the very next day, which is what I usually do. Oftentimes I will roast 2 chickens at a time, knowing if I'm going to make soup the next day. So this is something that is very versatile. You could buy, instead of a whole roaster chicken, you could purchase split chicken breasts. Sometimes in the grocery store they have like the split chicken with the drumsticks. You don't have to use a full roaster chicken. It's just how I do it in my house because it's what I remember growing up, and it's what I'm going to be sharing with you today. So how do we go ahead and do this? Let's assume you've taken your chicken, you've eaten your chicken the night before, it's in the refrigerator, and the next day you want to come out and you make your soup. This is what you're going to do. I have a very large soup pot because in my kitchen I like to cook smarter, not harder, and so I'm never going to make a single serving of soup. It's just not something that I'm going to do. I'm always going to make enough soup that I will have plenty of leftovers to go into the freezer so that we can pull it out for an easy lunch or an easy meal. So I have I think I have like 8 or 9 quarts in here. So that's a lot of cups of water, but you can see it's a pretty big stock pot. What you want to do is you want to put your chicken in and have it pretty much fully submerged by the water. So whatever sized pot you're using, you want to make sure that it's fully submerged in the water. Now, what am I going to put into this broth with the chicken? You can see here I have a few sprigs of rosemary. I have a rosemary plant in my house, so I just snipped off a few sprigs of it. You can use dried rosemary, but I'm going to put it right in the water. Now, because everything that is going to be in this first stage of the soup pot is going to be strained, it's okay for me to just throw that right in the water because it's going to get strained out. The purpose of this is to flavor that broth and to really flavor all of the soup stock, we'll call it. We'll call it a broth or a stock. This is going to get strained out, and then we're going to add more veggies and herbs at the end. And I have a really good bunch, a hearty handful bunch of fresh thyme here. Again, same thing, stems and all, it's going to go right into the water. Now, you can see thyme right here and rosemary are kind of like on a stem. If you were going to be putting this in a dish where you didn't want the stem, you simply take off the little leaf petals like this, and that's the herb. This gets discarded. But because I really don't need to worry about that, it's going to go right into the water, okay? You can purchase thyme in a grocery store just like this. This time of year, that's how I get my fresh herbs. In the summertime, you can grow it in your garden very easily or in like a little herb bed. But in the wintertime, this is a really great go-to at the grocery store. I'm going to add 2, well, these are small. I'm going to add 2 or 3 dried bay leaves into the water. And then I have 2 stalks of 2 carrot sticks and about 4 medium-sized stalks of celery. These are not going to be final vegetables in your soup. So you just chunk them up pretty coarse. The goal of this is, again, to flavor the broth, not to create vegetables for your soup. Now you can see I haven't even taken the skins off of the carrots. That's because I'm using organic carrots. And there's a lot of nutrients in the skins of carrots. If you use conventional carrots and not organic ones, you definitely want to try to peel them first to get all those pesticides off. But definitely, if you're using organic ones, you can go ahead and throw it right in. All right, and again, I'm just chunking up some celery. These are all going to get discarded. So you don't want to use too many because you don't want to waste them, but you're just trying to flavor that water and get that broth really, really nice and flavorful. And then I'm going to go ahead and I've got one, I'm going to peel off this outer layer. I've got 1 medium-sized onion, okay? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give that a coarse chop. Now you're going to notice I don't even take the skins off. It's going right in, okay? All I'm simply doing is putting it in the water, give that water some really nice flavor, that broth. You can peel off the outer layers, the ones that come off pretty easily, but I guess you just don't need to worry about doing it all, okay? Just some nice coarseness. All right, throw that right in. Super easy, guys. This is a really great broth, okay? Now, if you wanted to make a vegetable stock, you would add a ton more veggies and no chicken. If you wanted to make a beef broth, you would put your beef bones and your beef in here. So this is a really good versatile base of how to do this. Now, garlic cloves, fresh garlic cloves, you know, if you stand there trying to peel, it's going to take a really, really long time. So how do you get the skins off of garlic in an easy way? You set it on your cutting board, you put your flat knife down, and just give it a smash. And what's going to happen is it's going to come right out of the skin. Now again, I don't need to chunk these up, chop these up, because this is just going in to flavor my soup. There, give that a good chunk. About 5 garlic cloves here. Woo, those onions making me tear up a little bit. There you have it. That's it. That's all that's going in here, plus the chicken. Now, salt and pepper. Sorry, one more thing. So, I have pink Himalayan sea salt and black pepper. I'm going to do, the thing about seasoning is you can always add more later. You can't take it out. So I've got a lot of water here that I need to flavor, but I'm going to put 1 tablespoon, now we'll do 2. We'll do 2 tablespoons of salt into that water, okay? And I'm going to do 1 tablespoon of black pepper. Now that you're like, wow, let's do half. Never mind. Half a tablespoon of black pepper, which is about 1.5 teaspoons. And that's going to go right in there. I can give that a little stir. All right. You can always add more pepper later. All right. Okay. There, that looks good. All right. And then we're going to add parsley. Okay. So I have about a tablespoon of parsley. I'm going to go right in. Okay. Now the chicken. As I said, typically the chicken breast will be removed from here and the meat would be pretty much eaten because we would have had it the night before. Now, all of this goodness from the bottom of the pan is all going to go in to that broth, okay? I'm going to put that all right in. I'm going to cut off the chicken breasts. Now, this was in the fridge, so, and I don't want to put the chicken breast in until it's strained off. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to move it aside, but I'm going to put the skin. I am going to put the skin in because I want to get that flavor and all that seasoning from the top. It's all going to get strained out. It's not going to be part of the finished soup. Okay? Now there's a chicken bone. There's a bone that goes right down the bottom. Basically, you go down along the edge, get that chicken breast right off. It's a lot easier to cut when it's not cold, but boy, everybody's going to be happy tonight when they come home. Okay, so get that chicken breast nice and peeled off. It's a little messy, that's okay. Peel off that skin, put it right in the sauce. put these aside, okay? Now, rip off each of the legs. Put that right in the water, okay? You're gonna do that to both of them. You're gonna put both of these right in the water, and then you're gonna put the chicken carcass right in the water. Now, all of this meat that is on this chicken is all gonna get shredded off afterwards. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this in the water, make sure it's fully submerged. This is gonna go on the stove for about 2 hours, okay? We're gonna bring it to a boil and then we're gonna let it simmer for 2 hours. And then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna show you the next step. All right, so I am back. This soup, my house smells amazing right now, by the way. This soup has been sitting on the stove for just about 2 hours now. And everything is now soft and tender. You can see how all these vegetables and everything are nice and soft. But now what's the step? I don't want to eat all the chicken bones that are in here, right? So I need to strain all the ingredients that are out of here. So I just have the broth left. I'm going to put them into a colander and then I'll add all the other vegetables. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to try to do this. This is the messy part, okay? This is the only part of the whole thing that's really messy. But as you can see, I'm taking everything out. I could dump the entire thing into another pot, but that's also assuming you have a couple pots that are all the same size. And I really don't have that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strain it into a smaller pot, let this all cool down a little bit, and then I'm going to shred all that chicken off of the bones that are here and put it right back into the soup. So you can see the liquid's going to go down a little bit and all that's going to be left remaining is the broth, which smells fantastic, by the way. And I have chopped up a ton more vegetables that I will be going and putting back into the soup. So you can see here, now I have gone ahead and the miraculous TV editing or video editing, I've gone ahead and I've chopped up all of that chicken from before that we had cut off, those chicken breasts. And I have chopped that up, and so that is already on the side. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in the soup in a second. So I think I've got just about everything out of here. So I'm going to let this cool down because the last thing I want to do is burn my fingers because this is really hot. But what I can do right now is show you what else I'm going to put into here before I put the chicken in. So this is water. This started off as a water base. The flavors came from those herbs that I put in and the vegetables that we put in here, and the chicken bones and the broth and all of these things and the salt and the pepper. But I also like to add a little bit more depth of flavor. So in my soup, I always add about 4 cups of organic chicken stock right into the soup, okay? It gives a little bit more flavor than just the water, but it's not like throwing blocks of bouillon cubes in that have a lot of sodium. This is just a organic chicken broth that comes in a carton. But instead of adding bouillon cubes for flavoring, which is going to add more salt, I'm just adding some basic chicken broth into the soup to give some more flavor. And then those chicken breasts that we chunked off of the chicken earlier on in the video, I just went ahead and chunked that right up into some chunks. And I'm going to, oh, that burnt me a little bit. That's okay. Put that right into the soup, okay? And then over here, I have 4 cups of diced carrots. Now remember, I used the organic carrots, so I didn't peel the skins off of these because there are nutrients in the skin. I just gave them a good rinse and chopped them up. If you are using commercial carrots and not organic carrots, you're definitely going to want to peel the skin first. You can always use baby carrots that come in the bags. You just give them a real quick rough chop in half. You can get creative with that part. I have about 2 cups of onions and I have about 4 cups of celery. And I've got the leaves and everything all on the celery stalk. So don't waste those celery leaves. Put them right in the soup. They'll get nice and tender and give some really great flavor. The carrots that I did for this recipe is about 2 pounds of carrots. So a 2-pound bag of carrots. I have 2 to 3 medium-sized onions. And I have about 1 bunch of celery that comes in a bag. That's what this is right here for this size amount of soup. So if you were to make a smaller batch, you definitely want to decrease the carrots or the vegetables. But again, I mean, it's vegetables. As far as I'm concerned, the more you have, the better. This is the part where you can kind of get creative. I'm actually going to hold off for a second because I just splashed myself putting the chicken in and I don't want to burn myself. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to leave these aside. I'm going to wait for this to cool down, and when I come back, I will show you the final assembly of the soup. Okay, so I have gone ahead and I have shredded just about every piece of chicken that I possibly could off of that chicken that I put in the strainer. I put them in the colander for a couple of reasons. And that is because any of the liquid that's underneath can go right back into the soup because it's been strained through. And also you're able to really go through and see and figure out without being too messy. This is the messy part, where the chicken is. Now I really picked through, as you can see from that whole chicken and everything that we put in the broth earlier, that I've pretty much gone through and got just about every bit of chicken off of this that I possibly could. So in addition to the chicken breast that we just put in, all this chicken was on that chicken carcass. This is all going to go in that soup, and it's all cooked and it's got lots of flavor, and this is really going to be the bulk of the chicken soup. So if you were to do a leftover chicken, right, without the chicken breast, because like I said, I usually get 2 meals out of this, and the chicken breasts aren't even part of the soup, you're still going to get a ton of chicken for your leftover soup. And that's the best part of doing it this way, because honestly, there are so many little bits of chicken on that chicken roaster that a lot of people will just throw the carcass right out, and there's so much chicken that's left to be eaten. And by making a soup, you're able to utilize all of that chicken. You're not having anything go to waste. So this chicken's going to go right into that soup. And I just tested the broth. It tastes really, really good. All I need to do now is add the vegetables. Now this is going to go, now if you notice, I am adding these vegetables raw. If you wanted to speed up the process, you could saute these vegetables before putting them into your soup, and then they would go in. It would lessen the time that you actually have to cook it. I'm not in crunch for time, so I'm going to literally let this soup sit on the stove for probably a good 4 hours. And these vegetables are going to cook on their own, and they're going to be delicious, and they're going to be great. And so I'm putting all of these in here, and they're going to get nice and tender. Now, if you notice, I'm not going to add any more salt or pepper at this point in time. It probably can use more salt, but I'm not going to add any more. And here's why. I want to get the full flavors of this soup before I start adding more seasoning. And the flavor is going to change once all these vegetables start cooking. So I will most likely be adding more garlic powder or more salt or more pepper at the tail end of this soup cooking. Right now I'm not going to. I'm going to let all these flavors come together and blend together really nicely on the stove. And we're going to have ourselves a really nice soup. Now, I will be right back in 2 seconds. I forgot one more ingredient, and then I will be right back. All right, I said I was done adding more ingredients to this, but I'm not. I usually add a few cloves of fresh garlic into my soup. And my apologies for not chopping this up ahead of time, but I'm going to go ahead and I showed you. Now remember earlier I showed you how easily it is to peel the skin off a garlic clove when you give it a good smash. So I just did that again, right? We just peeled it. It peels right off. So all you need to do is take your knife, go flat down. It gives it a really, really good, easy way to pull that garlic clove right out. Now I am going to mince this garlic, okay? Really careful when you're mincing garlic. I always take my thumb and I always put my thumb in, because the last thing I want to do is get my thumb underneath that garlic. It's just kind of a habit over time and a couple of errors over the years as well. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to give that garlic a really nice mince. One other thing about when you're chopping garlic is to be really safe with your knife, because the last thing you want to do is cut yourself as you're mincing your garlic. But we just want to go ahead and give it a really nice chop. I'm going to put this right in. And then I may add some dry garlic later on, but for now, this is really it. Garlic also has some really, really great health benefits. So as far as I'm concerned, the more garlic you put in, the better. All right, that looks just about right. All right, I think we're good. I'm gonna go ahead and give that right into my soup. Now this soup is gonna go on the stove for probably a good 4 hours. And then I am going to have a really great dinner for myself and my family. Now this post in its entirety was sponsored by Liberty Tabletop. And they are the only U.S. manufacturer of quality stainless steel flatware in the entire country. And I'm really, really proud and happy to be partnering with them and bringing you this recipe on their behalf. And also, I happen to have with me their new Celtic pattern that they have out this March, right in time for St. Patrick's Day. This pattern is absolutely stunning. I don't know if you can see the detail in this work, but the Celtic symbol and everything that they have on the handles of their flatware, and all the patterns are different. All the little Celtic patterns are different. This is a beautiful flatware, and I cannot wait to use this tonight with dinner. And it's gonna look great lined up in my beautiful bowl with soup. Now, because this soup isn't gonna be ready for a few hours, I can't show you the finished product. However, if you go ahead and make it, you will see exactly what I'm talking about, how flavorful it is. Here's the other thing about this soup. There is no way my family and I are going to eat this entire bowl of soup tonight. I always make a lot, and here's why. This is a great freezable dish. We'll get tonight's dinner out of this, and then I will probably get 3 or 4 more freezer bags that will go right into the freezer in pre-portioned meals that we can pull out at any given time for a nice, healthy, and delicious meal in the future. So this truly is the meal that keeps giving, because you make a big pot of it once and you have multiple meals for the next few weeks. So I'm Andrea Moranville. Thank you so much for watching on my homemade chicken soup recipe. I hope you make this from my kitchen to yours. I'm Andrea. Thanks so much for watching. You can get this full recipe on my website, andreamoranville.com. And there will also be this video YouTube tutorial link in there as well, so you can share it along with your friends. Have a great day. Thanks.